Hey, friends and family, I am wanting to share with you what I do volunteer wise when I'm not working, right? Volunteering. So a lot of people have been asking me, what is it exactly that you do? I don't really understand it. Or when I try to talk to you, it's only about 5 minutes. And so it's not a whole lot of time to talk to you about it. And you kind of get a gist, but you don't really know what it is. So I thought today I would share a presentation with you and that you can look at anytime that you want. So here we go. I'm going to share screen. Not that screen, this screen. Here we go. Convention of States. So it's going to take about 20 minutes. And so I'm going to give you everything that you want to know or need to know about Article 5 of the US Constitution, the Convention of States project, the problem, the solution, how it works, and our strategy, and then finally how to get involved if you're interested afterwards. I'm the state director for the state of Texas, and it is a big job, but I love to do it. I'm meeting all kinds of really cool people and nice people all around the state. And so I've got friends everywhere. So that's a lot of fun. So if you're unfamiliar with this idea and this movement, don't worry. I was sitting right where you were not too long ago. And hopefully by the end of our time, you're gonna grasp the basics. That's the goal here. So the Convention of States project is designed to address three problems that we see in Washington, D.C. It is the debt and spending, the federal overreach of our government, and the negative effects of career politicians. First, the debt and spending crisis. Here is the most important fact about our spending problem. Party does not matter. It's both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, both spending far beyond their means. And it's jeopardizing the future of our children and our grandchildren. But we're going to feel the effects of this irresponsible spending even before our grandchildren are saddled with the national debt. According to expert analysis, the Medicare fund will be depleted by 2026, and Social Security will be gone by 2034. The second problem is government overreach. There's many ways that Washington abuses its power, but only one of the most egregious happens every day in federal bureaucracies. Most people don't realize that bureaucrats, so basically the alphabet soup of the federal government, they're not elected, and yet they're responsible for the vast majority of the laws and regulations under which we live. So here's the problem. Article 1 of the Constitution says that all legislative power is vested in Congress. And I think this video does a great job of illustrating how far we've departed from that idea. Bureaucracy. This is what we're looking at. All the federal bureaucracy, isn't the only branch that creates laws out of thin air. The Supreme Court does it too, as Michael Ferris explains.
People like us, people that are frustrated with Washington, D.C., often say, well, they don't follow the Constitution anyway. Not true. They follow the wrong one. They're following the Constitution as interpreted by the Supreme Court rather than the Constitution as written.
This, taking out of my pocket, is a pocket Constitution. 4,000 words in the original document, 4,400 words. If you count the amendments, we're talking about 7,000 words. But here is the Constitution in force today. This is 3,000 pages of Supreme Court rulings showing what every ruling has done to the original words. This isn't going to get any smaller. In fact, every time they publish this document, they leave a bunch of blank pages at the back for additional rulings that they know are coming. Every page in this document means a grant of power to the federal government. Understand that this is the Constitution in operation today. And unless we change it, unless we make its wording crystal clear, we're going to continue to operate under this document forever and ever until the whole house of cards comes falling down.
Neither bureaucrats nor Supreme Court justices are elected, which takes power away from the people and gives it to entities that are almost never held accountable for their actions. And speaking of unaccountable federal officials, our founders never wanted anyone to make a career out of public service. But look how long these men and women from both sides of the aisle have been in Washington. You might say, what is wrong with that? Their constituents elected them. Why shouldn't they continue serving? The problem is that the longer someone stays in DC, the more they smell like the swamp, the more they become tied to the bureaucracies and special interests, and the less they're willing to stick their neck out for the good of their constituents, or more importantly, the good of the country. And as you can see, the problem is getting worse. And why shouldn't it? Our federal officials, whether we're talking about bureaucrats, the Supreme Court, or Congress people, don't have the incentive to change the status quo. They're perfectly happy to continue acquiring more power, more wealth, and influence as long as we, the people, let them. This is one core belief at the Convention of States Project. The federal government is never going to fix itself. They'll never stop spending and abusing their power or seeking re-election. Fortunately, the founders predicted this would happen. That's why they included the Convention of States option in Article 5 of the US Constitution. As the video explains, you're going to see this here in just a minute. The founders wrote Article 5 for one specific reason.
15th of September, 2 days before they signed the document, the end of 4 long, hot months in Philadelphia. They were ready to go home. But George Mason noticed that Article 5 only had a single method for amending the Constitution. He said, wait a minute, what if Congress becomes an obstacle?
It was given to us by George Mason, who said, look at guys, someday this government's going to abuse its power, and there won't be anything for you ever to ratify if it's counting on Congress to reduce the power of the federal government. So we need to give the states the ability to reduce the power of the federal government.
So as that video explains, the founders wrote Article 5 for one specific reason, so that the states could check the federal power. They knew that without the Convention of States option, a corrupt, powerful federal government would never fix itself, which brings us to the actual text of Article 5, and here's what it says. The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid in all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress. And at its most basic level, Article 5 allows the legislatures to call a convention for the purpose of proposing amendments. This convention can only be called if 2/3 of the states, today that would be 34 states, pass resolutions calling for a convention. And note the word proposing and why I say it that way. An Article 5 Convention of States is meeting of the states in which they discuss potential amendments to the US Constitution. That's all they do. The amendments, as Article 5 says, must then be sent back to the states to be ratified by 38 legislatures. This is a very high bar, but it ensures that only the best, most popular amendments will finally be added to our founding document. Our plan is simple. We want to use Article 5 as the founders intended. We believe the federal government has gone off the rails, and we want to encourage the states to use their power under Article 5 to get our nation back on track. Like the colonists during the War for Independence, our desire is not to scrap everything and to start something brand new. Instead, we want to get back to our founding principles, and we believe the best, most effective way to do that is to call a convention of states. Fortunately, the founders predicted this would happen. That's why they included the Convention of States option in Article 5 of the Constitution. First, citizens asked their legislatures to pass a resolution calling for an Article 5 Convention of States. Millions of patriots all across the country have done this by signing the Convention of States petition, and thousands more have called, emailed, and met with their state representatives. Next, the Convention of States resolution follows the same process as any other resolution. It must pass committees in both chambers and finally pass the full chamber in the House and the Senate. Once 34 states pass identical resolutions calling for a convention of states, Congress is obligated under Article 5 to name a time and a place for the convention. The state legislatures decide how to select delegates to the convention, but no matter how many delegates they send, each state only gets one vote. At the convention, delegates propose, debate, and vote on amendments. We'll get to the details of this in a minute, but for now, it's important to know that all amendments proposed must be limited to the language in the Convention of States resolution. Any off-topic amendments will be considered out of order. Amendment proposals are passed when a simple majority of the state delegations vote for them. Next, the amendment proposals that pass out of convention are sent back to the states for the ratification process. 38 states must vote yes for any amendment proposal to become part of the Constitution. Again, this is a very high bar and all but ensures that no bad amendments will be ended up in our founding document. You can think of it like this. It only takes one legislative chamber in 13 states to keep any amendment from moving forward. I don't know about you, but I can really easily think of 13 states that would kill any amendment limiting freedom or drastically restructuring our system of government. Finally, once that entire process is complete, the amendment proposals become a part of the Constitution. Our strategy consists of two main arenas, the state legislatures and the grassroots. On the legislative side, we're seeking to pass a Convention of States resolution in at least 34 states, and we've already passed it in 19. We're almost there. Our resolution calls for amendments in three distinct categories: limiting the power and jurisdiction of the federal government, impose fiscal restraints for federal officials, mandate term limits. Remember, like I said before, when the states call for a convention of states under this resolution, they can only propose amendments that fall into one of these three categories. The Convention of States project doesn't endorse any particular amendments. Rather, we want the states to make that decision when they get to the convention. And here's where you come in. Along with lobbying in the state legislatures, we're seeking to build the nation's largest grassroots army. And as you can see, we're well on our way. We have volunteer teams with leadership structures in every state. Over 3.7 million volunteers and supporters and local leadership. what we call district captains, in over 1,700 state houses. Thanks in a large part to the grassroots army, the momentum for the Convention of States movement is building all across the country. The green states represent states where we've already passed our resolution. So there's 19, like I said before, so far. In the states, we have 60% of voters that said that they would support their state calling for a convention of states. Finally, one of the most exciting aspects of the Article 5 movement is that it enjoys bipartisan support. Over half of the Democratic Party and 75% of the Republican Party said they would back a convention of states to limit the power and jurisdiction of the federal government. Plus, some of the nation's most prominent thinkers and leaders have taken note of the growing Convention of States movement. So I'm going to pick a couple here from Texas. Lieutenant Colonel Allen West. He's not from Texas, but Ben Shapiro for the young people. Ben Carson. Constitution scholar Dave Barton from Texas. Governor Ron DeSantis from Florida. So in conclusion, if you'd like to get involved, there's 3 ways to do that. We have additional volunteer and leadership positions available. And if you're interested in other opportunities, please don't hesitate to speak with me or send me a private message or give me a call or text message me. And then the best of these 3 ways can be helpful. These are the 3 ways you can be most helpful. First, you can sign the official Convention of States petition. When you sign the petition and provide your full address, we automatically send you a copy of the petition to your state legislators. This is a great and easy way to let your representatives know that you support Convention of States resolution in your state legislature. Next, you can volunteer by becoming a district captain.
All of us at the Convention of States Project truly believe freedom is worth fighting for. That's why we are executing a strategy that uses the Constitution to restore America. We believe the key to our success is creating and mobilizing a grassroots army at the state level. And the most critical member of this grassroots army is the district captain. We need a district captain in each of the 5,000 state house districts nationwide. As a district captain, you're on the front line in the fight for liberty. You'll be connecting Convention of States supporters in your local area, partnering with your state director to organize local town halls, meetings, and petition drives, and mobilizing local activists to have their voices heard at your state legislature. We will give you all the tools you will need and proudly stand shoulder to shoulder with you as we recruit, train, mobilize, and engage the largest grassroots army in the history of the United States. To be a part of the movement that refuses to let liberty die and stands up for our children and their future. Welcome aboard.
So the last way to get involved, and it's less important than the other 2, but I still want to mention it. We rely heavily on our amazing volunteers, but like any other organization, Convention of States Project also relies on our generous donors to keep up the fight for liberty. So if you'd like to contribute, you can do so at conventionofstates.com/donate. And that's it. So reach out, like I said. Thank you for listening. And if you have any more questions or, like I said, private message me, call me, text me. And even if you're not in Texas, I can give you more information on how to get plugged in your state. Thanks, guys.